Hey guys, Evander here, back with another video, and today is kind of a different little twist. I'm going to Quentin Tarantino this, and I'm going to start at the end and then work my way back because this is the Hansshow digital rear view mirror for the Cybertruck. It is their version 2.5, and as I was editing, this is becoming well over an hour-long video. So rather than make you endure an entire hour just to know, should I buy the thing or not, I'm going to start the video with a very quick summary of the entire hour. And then if you are interested in buying this, you get it, and you want some tips and tricks of how to install this and get it done the right way, you can stick around for the full hour and get all of those details and watch me install this from start to finish. I tried not to exclude anything that is important to understand how to get the installation done. So let's get into it. And then after I give my summary, I'm going to just jump into my old intro and you can take it from there. So out the gate, do I recommend it or not? Yes. This would have been a very different video. Long story short, this is the version 2.5 because they sent me a version 2, and that was a different rear view digital mirror. It had a different rear camera. It had a separate front camera that mounts onto the windshield. Different model. They stopped selling it altogether. I was very confused. Why am I reviewing something when you don't even sell it anymore? You're selling this version 2.5 now. It's kind of replaced the old one, and it was shit. It kept freezing, pink distortion. I've seen this on forums, on YouTube. Everyone who had the first version 2 digital mirror from Hansshow, awful. It would freeze every single one of my drives. I told Hansshow, I'm not going to recommend this. This is not working. They tried fixing it. They tried sending me different cables, software updates. Nothing fixed it. It still was crashing every single drive. So I said, my video is just going to be, I do not recommend it, FYI. They said, well, let's send you the actual mirror we're selling. And that's what they sent me. So finally, they're doing what they should have done in the first place, which was send me what you are actually selling to people online. And now I can do an actual review of, and you can understand what you're going to get. So this is a digital mirror. This thing's like over a foot long. It has a built-in camera on the front, and then a rear camera mounts on the back. It is intended to mount on top of the tonneau, looking over your bed and seeing the road behind you. I have never liked that, so I mounted mine where I mounted my version 1, generation 1 of the mirror, which is underneath my tailgate hitch and pointing kind of up towards the road. That way, if my tailgate is down, I can still see behind me. If I have things in the bed, though, it's not going to block it if I were to put it up on the tonneau. So I know some of you might actually do what this mirror is intended to do, which is mount it on top of your tonneau. That's fine. I'm going to include instructions on how to do that as well, since that's how I tried it the first time. But after seeing how it looked, it just didn't feel very nice. I couldn't see the depth and understand how far away I was from hitting something. So I ended up basically bastardizing the install. I used an old cable from the Generation 1, and I basically just tapped into that and mounted it underneath the tailgate hitch, and it worked beautifully. So I recommend it whether you mount it underneath the tailgate hitch like I did. Up to you. It's subjective if you like how it looks on top of the tonneau. But that is a little bit different installation process as far as wiring. Things I like about this mirror: it's nice and big, and very clear, relatively smooth. The first generation was a bit smaller. Nothing wrong with that, but I did like it that it's nice and big. The only gripes I really had with this mirror were the colors. They're a little washed out. If you compare it to Tesla's, the sky is much more blue, and this is usually pretty gray. So don't expect like color accurate. But as far as reading license plate, I pulled the footage, the raw footage. You can see the license plates, read them fine. It's fine at night, just like the version 1. It can experience headlights sort of blinding the camera. It's just how it is. But as far as being a backup camera, works perfectly, no problems at all. But if you're going to use it as a dash cam, it works. You can see license plates, and that's all you really need to know is the thing in front of you and the thing behind you. Can you see it clearly? Color matching isn't exactly terribly important, so I'm not going to count too hard against the washed out colors. Something I brought up to them is the time and date over here. I said, do I really need to see the time and the date? Give me a setting to toggle this thing off. Currently, they're still looking into if they can release a firmware update to hide the date and the time. Because yeah, it's just kind of big, obtrusive on the top right-hand side here. And currently there's no way to hide it and turn it off. And I've noticed there's actually some weird bugs that happen every now and then where it starts to lose track of time and day and it's incorrect in the first place. I'm like, I don't want to see this. I know what year it is. I don't need to see that all the damn time. So they're looking into that. They're also looking into the colors, see if there's anything they can do with the firmware update. If there is one, I will put it in the description or in the comments, and I'll let you know, hey, they fixed this with a firmware update. That would be nice. As far as installation, the easiest mirror I have had to date for installing a digital mirror in the Cybertruck. The other ones, I recommended you have a 2-person crew to do those. This one, I actually was able to do it pretty seamlessly with just myself. What I loved is there is a mount back here, and they have this in a way that the mirror can go on last. Previously, you had to have the mirror, the cables, everything had to kind of go up and in. The way this one is designed is much easier to install by yourself because you can actually push things up, and there's one less cable than there was last time. There's only 2 cables that need to go up and into my trim. Overall, again, if you want to watch the full install, it's the easiest mirror I've installed so far for the Cybertruck. The quality is great. It's nice and stiff. It holds its position well. Even when I bang my head on it, I forget it's there. It has yet to have any issues, and the mount feels nice and stiff. They've definitely iterated over a few of these mounts, and this one is just perfect. No complaints at all. Maybe these wires could be a little less ugly sticking out of the top, but what are you going to do? Actually, I've actually found very, very, very similar models like this on Amazon, and it doesn't seem like very much besides the mount is actually custom made for the Cybertruck. So keep that in mind. This isn't like a custom made sort of mirror. It feels like they've kind of curated and handpicked some products that are commonly used for vehicles, and they've modified them enough to work for Cybertruck. You can really tell because on the rear camera, I found that one on Amazon. It was like 40 bucks. And you can tell it's not meant for Cybertruck because A, it doesn't look like, cyber aesthetics. And B, the housing that they gave you to enclose around the camera was way too big. And it just wasn't meant for that camera in particular. It's very strange. It was oddly too big. Having said that, it doesn't really matter. It works. It works great. I can see behind me. I can see, point it up, point it down. You can increase and decrease the brightness. If I had to be nitpicky, it'd be nice if it had an auto brightness setting, but it doesn't take more than a second to tap it and adjust the brightness. It can record automatically if it detects like a gravity difference or an accelerometer difference. So you can have it detect things. But I was getting some tripping. I might need to tweak the settings later if I'm going over like a really big bump in the road. It might go beep beep and record an event, but I didn't need that. Of course, you can turn it off. Now it's just a normal mirror when you want it to be, and it's back to a digital mirror. So very simple, easy to use. Hoping we get some firmware updates for it to make it even better in the software. The hardware is fine, but it's not meant for a Cybertruck necessarily. But again, it's working great. I can still read license plates, and it does its job as far as showing the camera up on the screen. So I think what I'm going to do before I jump into my usual intro and kick off the installation process is I will give you a very quick rundown of how I installed this, where the cables went, what I learned, and then we'll continue on from there into the normal intro and install and all that. All right, quick rundown for this mirror. Again, it's over 1 foot long. We've got a camera right there on the front. Lovely. It uses these 2 wires, runs up into the trim. I ran those 2 wires in this headliner, and then I was able to find a way to get underneath this and into this trim. And you can see here's 1 wire running backwards. That's the rear camera. And I went underneath the airbag in there. There is a small area where you can fish that through. The other cable from the mirror runs down this trim and into my passenger trim, where it is tapping into the harness there for power. So it was really nice to have it tap into this power source instead of the mirror itself, because if you start entangling wires, the more wires and stuff you have in here, the more odds that something can go wrong, and your GPS can have issues, your FSD can have issues. It's best to not have very much in this shroud at all. All right, and then once I routed the cables this way, this is where you decide. Are you going to put it up there on the aero flap, pointing backwards off the tonneau? Or are you going to run it down this trim, up through your fenders, and into this little mud flap area? You can get inside, which lets you access this by the tow hitch area. It's hollow in there, and I was able to fix the camera down there, pointing a little bit up and out. Again, you have the choice of putting it up there on the aero flap, right there in the middle, but as you can see, like if you've got any sort of roof racks like I do, it's just going to block your entire shot, and you're not going to see much behind you. Same for if you have any stuff in your bed and it's taking up a lot of room. It just completely blocks the camera up there in the middle. I felt like down here is way better. Even if the tailgate is down, it does not block the camera, and you can still see behind you, and you're not going to run into things. So you do have the option of doing either configuration, up on top or down below. Hey guys, Evander here, back with another review. Today I'm going to be going through Hanssho's version 2 of their digital mirror for the Cybertruck. I'm going to start calling this the 2.5 version. We'll get to that in a moment. But thank you, Hansshow, for sending this over for review. If you're interested, as always, link in the description below. And of course, RedKnave20 is going to save you 20% off this or anything else on Hanssho's website. So, the installation, these mirrors are difficult, not gonna lie. It can be more difficult than needed, so be sure to pay attention when you watch my video. It's gonna make your life a lot easier. I've done this probably 3 or 4 times now, so I have a lot of experience, particularly with the smart mirrors. They give you everything you could need in this kit. What's very interesting is this one even comes with a shroud. I saw some other people who got theirs earlier, and this was 3D printed, but nowadays it is not 3D printed, so that's great. What I like about this one is it's very large, over 11 inches, and the front-facing camera is actually built into the back of this camera. Never seen that before. That's pretty cool. Personally, I don't see much of a point for the front-facing camera since all Teslas got Sentry mode, and I have it on whenever I park outside of, comfortable areas. So not quite sure why I would need another camera. I suppose there are some blind spots for Sentry mode, but if you need it, it's there, it's baked in. You don't even have to wire it and mount it anywhere. So that's fantastic. A new mounting system compared to some other cameras I've used. What I don't seem to like is, again, this weird cover, and here is the rear camera. These appear to be some off-the-shelf stuff. They're not custom made for the Cybertruck. Like, I get it from a business perspective. You want to save money. You don't want to have to reinvent the wheel. But it does appear they're using some off-the-shelf camera for some other car or truck. And then they're basically expecting you to put it in this enclosure to hide the wire and the camera itself. But it seems like even this enclosure is way too big. There's so much room in there. I'm not sure why. Kind of weird. Regardless, I've been reviewing what I thought their 2.0 model was. You can see it there on the top of my Tonneau cover. I've been using that for weeks. And I told Hansshow, this thing is shit, and I don't recommend it, is what my review is going to be. Also, why am I reviewing this mirror if it's not even on your website anymore? It's been replaced by this as the 2.0. So like, this is kind of weird to be reviewing a product that you guys can't even buy anymore. And I don't recommend that product. So it's like, well, why am I doing this? So Hansshow sent me their actual mirror that they're actually selling on their website, which is this one. So I was like, okay, that's going to be great. Also, I did not recommend that mirror because it kept freezing. There'd be pink distortion. And I looked online on YouTube, on the forums. Other people were having the exact same issue with that particular style of their 2.0 mirror. So I'm really hoping that this model fixes all those problems and we don't have to deal with that, because it was absolutely awful. I was about to put the version 1 back in because it just isn't working at all. Every single time I go on a drive, the version 2 will freeze. So I'm hoping, again, I'm calling this the 2.5, fixes those issues. Another thing. So this camera is intended to be mounted up there on the back or on the top of your tonneau and faces out, and you got the enclosure. Neat. I don't really care for these top-mounted tonneau cameras, to be honest. Yeah, I can see into the bed of the truck if you swipe down, but I don't really care about that. If I'm backing up and my tailgate is down, that camera is kind of useless. I can't tell how far away something is, and I'd probably back into something if the tailgate was down. So I'm probably going to ignore putting it on the top of the tonneau, and I'm just going to put this thing right underneath where my Generation 1 camera is currently still installed. And I'm just going to put it underneath there, underneath that like trailer hitch area. I felt like that was more useful. That is like way too far up, way too high. And personally, I just struggle to see like who's behind me. You can get a big bird's eye view almost of the whole thing behind you. But as far as backing up, I personally was struggling to use that for backing up purposes. I was too scared to use it. I can't tell where things are. I'm going to put this thing underneath. We'll get to that in a minute. It should be possible with this. It was not possible with that. That one, I could not reverse the image of the camera, so I couldn't flip it upside down and put underneath. This one, since it mounts like this, I should just be able to put some mounting tape on top and stick it underneath. It's going to work beautifully, I think. So let's get inside the truck. We'll talk a little bit more about how this is going to work, and we'll get right to it. All right, before we go inside, I probably should show you this in best lighting. So here's the mirror itself. Very cool. Interesting ways of connecting. So the rear camera connects to this little AV port. Power is through Type C. You ignore the GPS. It looks like it's already got a little memory card in there, so that's fantastic. On the bottom, they got 2 microphones, it looks like, and this is probably a like on and off button. I really love this built-in camera. That's a cool idea. And we've got an interesting little mounting area here. Here is that, we'll call it the shroud. Probably not going to use this. We'll see. If it goes underneath, we'll see. I might be able to make use of that. We've got a whole bunch of cabling here. Here is that camera. It looks like it's on a weird little hinge type. I don't know if I will need this. I might take this off and just put some VHB tape on this area. So what's nice about this versus the Generation 1 is this uses the passenger trim harnesses for power. The Generation 1 used the mirrors area in that shroud area. You were siphoning off of that power. It was really difficult. You had to wire things, keep them out of the way, or your GPS would be interfered with. So I'm glad they're going with this route. This is just the power cable, whole lot of wire. So we'll have to tuck these into the side trim. Shouldn't be an issue at all. Probably take us 10 minutes at most. Really glad they give you I think this is a T20 for the mirror area itself. Some other mirrors I've seen, they give you just a little, almost like an L-shaped Allen type wrench and it's just way too short. Glad they give you a long one. Definitely needed for this kind of install. And here is that rear camera extension cable. This looked a lot better. I have actually unpacked quite a bit of it. I've got some primer for sticking very well. And this is the mounting bracket itself. I'll take that out later. Oh, it looks like we get an extra little sticky pad for the camera. And a whole bunch of tools, prying tools, screwdriver, wrenches. Wow, the whole shebang. I probably won't need this wrench, and I'll show you why in just a minute. But yeah, let's get the install going. All right, before we replace this version 2 mirror and get the 2.5 going, this is what the other one looked like. Very similar. It does not have a camera built in. It was externally mounted. So I got to take all this shit down. But yeah, this one was fine at first, but it just does not work for me. Again, this is the view from the tonneau. Yeah, I can see like in the bed, but as far as backing up, like I can't even see the corners of the truck. So if my tailgate was down and this back camera was not, pointing outwards, I wouldn't be able to see my bumper. I would not be able to tell how far away I was from hitting like a pole or something. So I think I'm going to mount this replacement camera not on the tonneau area. I'm going to put it down underneath the bumper here. I feel like that's going to be better. But I'm going to wire it up kind of loosely before I put anything into any trim and see what that will look like later. So let's take this version 2 mirror down and get the 2.5 up there. Alrighty, their kit was nice and extensive. This is actually kind of loosely on there. I don't even need this pry tool. But it came with a little cover to enclose the... I need to keep track of which one's old and new. Throw that one on the ground. So, let's see. So in order to get this screw out, I've got to work this thing up there. This is the most difficult part when you're installing a mirror in a Cybertruck. You gotta like get this little screw in there, and if you're not aligned perfectly, it doesn't fit up there. It's a real pain. So if you can get a helper for putting it up, that would be great. You need to keep the existing screw. This isn't from my original mirror, so I'm using this in every single mirror I've done. So keep that screw handy. You always will need it. So this is all one like piece. There's wires connected directly to the mirror. What I like about the new version is the mirror is separate, so we can put the mirror on last. So that's a great step in the right direction as far as installing this easier. Be careful. So I just did a review. This is Best EV Mods screen protector. If you don't have one of these, well, get one. But at the very least, get like a microfiber towel or something. Put this on top of your display. Because previously when I was screwing with these mirrors, I dropped my screwdriver and it hit the display. Thank God I had a screen protector on there. So it cracked the screen protector and not the display itself. I still need to get a new screen protector. I forgot about that. Yeah, be mindful of your environment. You're going to bang into things. You don't want to damage your truck putting an accessory in. I think I need to pull this thing down. It just kind of wiggles off. And then I ended up attaching this front-facing camera to this carbon fiber. We don't need this anymore. Pull down on the shroud. Let that hang. We've got our wiring job in here, so this can come undone. So this is how I wired this one up. You want to avoid this silver circle. That's where your GPS antenna communicates. And if you have anything overlapping this area, you could get some GPS problems. Your FSD might not be working. Your parking sensors might be upset at you. So be careful. So this is kind of what you will look like when you take out your original mirror, if you haven't already. All right, now we can start putting the new mirror in. Okay, looking at the new camera here, we've got the mount. Obviously that goes in there. We have another mount that looks like kind of extending the mount to be longer. Okay, and then the mirror screw is going to go up through there. I see. So we need to assemble these two mounts. I don't know why this wasn't one piece, but okie dokie. Actually, I think this looks familiar. I think they recycled this from a previous, the Generation 1. This looks just like the Gen 1 piece. So they're basically tapping into that. I think it goes like this. So I need to figure out which screw attaches this stuff together. So I'll get to that in a sec. All right, I figured it out. They gave you 5 screws. You had one extra for mounting the little bracket here to the mirror itself. And then I just found the little baggie I was looking for that has one bigger screw and washers. Why are there 2? Is there 2 in there? Oh, we've got one of those, I forget what they're called. Safety washer? I don't remember. Ooh, I think this is the order where you have the big washer and then the safety washer is going to be last. So now I can fix the mount to the mirror extension, and I'm pretty sure, yeah, it'll go like that. So I'm gonna screw these together. I am liking this mirror more and more as I go through the install. So mirror mount ready to go. That can go up semi-last. So we have the wire harness here. This goes into the side passenger trim over there. But what I'm realizing is, since the front-facing camera is built into the mirror, I don't have to have any weird cabling for this at all, which means there's nothing that needs to be mounted inside of this shroud, which means all we need is this power, which means that literally the only thing that needs to go into the shroud is the USB-C cable, which makes this so much cleaner than any other mirror install. I literally just have to do that. This is gonna be great. I don't have to do any tucking. Oh my God, this might be the one. Okay. So I just need enough slack for this to connect to the mirror itself. Oh man, this is gonna be so much easier this way. Oh, okay. They have a little hole here. Pretty sure that's for the wiring. So I believe this is shaped this way. This little area is for the cable to go through. This little slot is for the door that would be on your mirror. The previous model, I had to rip that little door off and it can't go back on. It was the built-in Tesla. It had a little door, so if you took your mirror off, you can just close it and plug the hole. I had to destroy that for the previous mirrors. But it looks like there's a little long hole here, so you could just fish your little door through that area and not have to snap it off like I did. So this is also a really good design. I think I need to go, yeah, up through the middle of the mount in order to get the right angle. Let's see if it takes. Oh, I think it took. Cool, so it did help guide me to the spot. Do not use an electric drill on this thing, by the way, because you got all these components up in there. And if you were to use too much power, I think you could drill right through those motherboards up in the mirror. So that's nice and tight. However, oh good, I can pull the slack through even though it's fully tightened. So I can plug this into the mirror and then pull the slack. I don't want like any loose cabling here. This just needs enough so that it can move this way, that way. Do it a little bit more. There we go. I'm fine with that. And now, what's fantastic, we only have one cable that needs to route through this area. All right, so I've got the cable here. I have routed it in between. This is where the little clip goes into, and you'd want to avoid these because that clip cannot go in if the wire's in the way. So I'm going to try and do it that way, and then we'll tuck the cabling into the headliner there. So you just got to put it up and test if it worked. All right, I made a dumb mistake and I wasn't thinking ahead. I need I need to get this rear camera cable routed through, and I forgot to use this weird aux. So this needs to go in the camera. So there are two cables, not just the one. Damn it. What I kind of hope for the future is if this harnessing stuff could somehow tap into the camera cable, so we just need one. But I need to take this down, making sure everything's aligned before you give it a good push. There we go. All right, once the shroud is like up, it pinches your wires, so you can't really pull the slack. So you got to make sure once this is mounted up there, is there enough room for these cables to plug in? So when you're installing this, you want to get your screwdriver and go up through the mirror here. There's a little middle area. Otherwise, you can't get the angle needed to push this thing up and screw it into place. Kind of just start shifting it around until you get the feel of where that screw goes in. I think I feel it taking. There we go. Go until it's like tight enough. Don't go too tight. You could push on components within the shroud, and you don't want that to happen. So screw it until it's tight, give it a little bit more turn, and then you're done. So this should feel nice and stiff and sturdy. Got a little bit of wiggle. Oops. I'm gonna give it one more little quarter turn. There we go. Much better. So now we've got to route this other cable. Goodness, that was a little difficult. Pro tip, use the little orange tool here to press the cables around the little areas where the brackets, there's little white snaps that will connect. Just push around. You want to make an hourglass shape around those two areas. Now I've got my cabling up in the headliner, so I can just tuck it up there and work our way towards the passenger door. And then we've got a couple options to get this down into the side trim. All right, I've got it tucked up into this side trim, and you could do one of two things. You could go along this part of the trim and start tucking it through. It's a bit of a tight squeeze, but I know it can work. Or you go around and out. Here is the route I'm gonna go. This is actually the first generation Hansshow camera cable. So I might pull this out and tuck it away, get it out of here, so I have these two cables that are gonna basically replace the old mirrors cabling. Alrighty, just pull this rubbery bit down. Easy. Let's see what I did here. I have so much stuff in here, I don't even know what's going on. I've always not liked how I've had to wire things kind of across this part of the trim. So I'm gonna see if I can even get in to that headliner. I feel like there's gotta be a way to get from here to out there. So I can, but that's going over the airbag. And I don't wanna like wrap it around the airbag. I wanna go underneath the airbag, not over it. Got it. All right. Okay, so I now have access to the inside and I can go underneath the airbag. So I'm gonna get, oh, shit. I should have thought of this earlier because I'd have to pull all this stuff through, which is too big probably. But pulling the USB-C cable through, that would have been much easier. Dang. And I don't know if I want to take apart all that stuff just to get a little bit better wiring job that I could do later if it really bugs me. So I wish I had planned ahead a little bit better and I could have had this wiring job be a little bit better, but that's okay. Again, I can always, if I decide to, pull the mirror down, get the wire out, and then fish it through. I'm pretty sure I could do that later. Alrighty. Got it. So I pulled that wire through. I'm going to keep it on here just in case I need to fish this anywhere else. Pull that in, or pull that out. Cool. So there is a route from the headliner to the outside. This is going to go up, up and in. Trying to, again, tuck this underneath and ideally like under and behind the airbag. So if it ever does need to deploy, God forbid, there's nothing in the way. It can just expand and come down the door. But we just don't want to wrap it over the airbag and then down because now we've constricted it from moving. But if it's underneath it, it should be good. So, oh boy, I'm gonna run out of slack here for this little box. Kind of awkward. Wow, this does not have as much slack as I'm used to for the harness. So, luckily it looks like it's ending in this trim where there's no airbags. And there is a little space. If I can squeeze it in there. Oof. I think I can squeeze it in up here and then shimmy it down. There we go. It's in. Get all these guys under that airbag and behind it, out of the way. Keep forgetting to use these pry tools. Tucky, tucky, tuck. There we go. It's not even close to being in the way of that airbag. This little box is now tucked back there. If that causes a rattle sound, it'll drive me crazy, but I could always put some padding or something on there later. Oh God. I'm already anticipating my plan to not work. If I want to route this all the way back underneath the tailgate, I think I would need a lot more room and a lot more cabling. And I don't see enough. Oh, in fact, this cable doesn't need to go into the side trim. Goodness, I've done this so many times, you'd think I know what I'm doing. This camera cable, this one needs to route the other direction, towards the back. So pull this guy that way. He needs to go out to the back. And I'm not sure if there's enough slack here to go all the way to the bottom of the tailgate, but we'll find out soon. Let's get this harness installed. All right, I'm gonna try my best not to block the shot, but it's kind of inevitable when I get in this weird little area. So, get your pry tool, pop off this side piece first. There's 3 little clips. And 3, there it goes. And now, let's see, this was the old camera. I can actually take this one out first. All this trim peels back pretty easily. Don't be afraid to just pull it. It pops off, pops back on. Super simple. Never had any issue with those. This is actually not too bad. It used to be like 3 different things in here and it was getting super crowded. Right now, the only thing that will use this harness is this mirror. I've gotten rid of everything else that used to be here. Oh, cool. That's lovely. We don't have to use the little area down there. This is just power. So cool. We don't have, there's these little harnesses underneath. I don't think I need to tap into those anymore. Connect that. That was just long enough to reach. And we'll just tuck that in there. Put this trim back. Okay. All right, before we do anything further, I have plugged the mirror into that cable and we can see, yes, it is working and it looks pretty good, I must say. So I don't think there's enough cabling here to go all the way to the back. The intention is for this to be mounted like that, but back here on the tonneau. I earlier mentioned I don't like that angle, and what I would really love is to mount this underneath where the old camera was. But as you can see, this cabling, it's like, it's long enough, but it's that's if I don't tuck it in. Gosh, I would have to tuck it through the top part, which is fine, but then I'd have to go down and that way and up and over the that's just adding a lot of cable length that I would need. So not sure if I could reach the back with this cable length, unfortunately. But I'm gonna start routing it towards at least where it's supposed to go, and then we'll see how much space, and I can calculate from there how much length I'd need to make it to where I would really prefer to have it. So we'll see. All right, since I don't think I ever have recorded a first-person view of this tuck job, I think I'm gonna try it this time. So this is the cable for the camera. I earlier routed that underneath and behind the airbag here. So I'm gonna continue to tuck those in until we want to pull it out. And then get this rubber trim back up. So kind of use this rubber door trim to push it and pinch it in place. And that's what that looks like out there. So I'm gonna have to deal with that later. But yeah, this cable, we're gonna go up into this trim, and once you get it up and behind this little rubbery part of the trim, you can use your little orange pry tool here. Peel the trim back with the orange pry tool and just kind of push and tuck. Use it as an extension of your finger. I already have a cable in there, so it's even tighter than it would be for you. But one day I'll take the first generation cabling out of there. Gotta make sure all these cables are as invisible as possible. There we go. Kind of feeding it in while I pull the orange pry tool over it, and that is essentially just tucking it into this rubbery part out of sight. Anytime you hit this kind of rubber, we want to get behind it and try and push that cabling behind it and under it. And you can kind of see I already have a cable in there. And it's like, hey, I'm in here. There's only room for one. But I'm going to squeeze both in just in case I need to put my Generation 1 camera back up. So if you're going to put the camera on the tonneau, you don't want to tuck any further than like this area. But I want to see if this thing can reach the tailgate. So let me figure that out right now. Well, I definitely don't have enough length to reach the back. But I noticed these cables use the exact same connector. So this is the old Generation 1 camera. And I hooked it up to the new cable. Basically, the old Generation 1 camera works with the new cable. So I might be able to get an extension or an adapter of some sort later so that I can make this work. So I think for now, I'm going to put it up there where it's intended to go. But later, I might find a adapter so I can get an extension of this kind of cable and be able to reach the spot I want to. So this is what the old Generation 1 looked like. And I had it like wired up in here, tucked away. But I don't think I can recycle any of this stuff because this is what the new cable already looks like, is this male part. I need like a female extension cable or adapter of some sort to make this work. Holy shit, I just remembered the Generation 1, it's still wired in there. I just pushed the new wire around it. And at the end of this cable is what I need. So I think I can make this work. I can use the Generation 1's, it's basically an extension cable. I didn't need to tuck the new cable in. I can connect them right up here. So what I think I'm gonna do is we're gonna make a hybrid here. But before we do that, let me just put it up and in the middle of the tonneau so you can at least see what this would look like if I mounted it on the tonneau. But I think I'm going to use best of both worlds here and have the Generation 1's extension cable. And then I'm going to hook that up to the new camera, which should be higher resolution. And I'll be able to mount it underneath the tailgate. And in fact, technically, I could use the old Generation 1 camera. But I'm pretty sure the new one is higher definition. So let me hook up the new camera's cable since it's already over there. I'll just place it on the tonneau so you can at least see what it would look like. We'll raise the tonneau up, put the tailgate down. You'll get to be able to see what it would look like if you mounted it on top of your tonneau. But I'm going to go the route of just borrowing this cable. I'm glad I didn't have to research and find this online. I probably could have on Amazon or something. But yeah, I'm going to use this, and I'm excited this is going to work for me. Alrighty, I kind of gently placed it on top of the tonneau. And yeah, if I go up, back and down, looks great. Camera doesn't really show, but it is pretty clear. I'm noticing it looks fuzzier in the camera. Let me put we're gonna open the tonneau and see how much we can view in the bed itself. I've got a whole bunch of crap in there. And yeah, you can see inside the bed. Fantastic. So if you wanted to mount this on your tonneau for viewing the contents of your bed, well, you can either see all the way in your bed or a little bit of the road or all of the road. So I do appreciate that you can see down into the bed. Ideally, what I would want from a mirror for any manufacturer, I want both. I want to be able to have a camera up on top of the tonneau, and I want another camera, not on the front, but underneath the tailgate. So I want two rear-facing cameras is what I would really love, so I can get all those blind spots eliminated. Because right now, that's my main concern, is seeing behind me. I can clearly see in front of me. So yeah, that's what that looks like. mounted to the tonneau. If you have the enclosure around it, just make sure it isn't too far forward or you're gonna see some of the enclosure on the side, but works fine, just not for me, not what I'm going for. So yeah, let me continue my little bastardized camera and I'll show you what this looks like underneath. Oh, let me lower the tailgate actually. Hopefully there was nothing getting smushed. Yeah, you can like barely see that's the tailgate. Um, eh, very hard, at least for me, to see, you know, how far away I am from hitting something if that's all you've got to look at. Is, you know, it looks just like the road. It was just too difficult. If you have too much stuff in your back of your bed, it basically is blocking off your tailgate anyways, and I just couldn't see a damn thing when my vault is full of stuff, which is the whole point of lowering your tailgate, is because you've got a lot of cargo. So I'm gonna put this under the tailgate and we'll see how it looks. All right, and just so you're aware, that is how I laid out the new camera to show you what it looked like while it's up there. So back to what I'm gonna do. Since not all of you are gonna be doing probably what I'm doing, I will include the footage showing you how I got the triangular shaped one wired and back here, since you'll want to know that if you go the route of putting it on top of your tonneau. Keep in mind, I do have the Cyber tent configuration, and I have some quick releases underneath this arrow flap that you will not. But if you take the arrow, when you take the arrow flap off, you want to make sure you don't drop any screws down into your where your tonneau hides itself. So just put a towel down there if you're taking the screws out on each of these sides, so you can get your wiring in there. Real pain in the ass because I have the telescoping racks, and fishing the wire from here to there takes a little bit of practice, but I'll include that footage since I already did that on the other side, and you can just follow along with those steps if you want to go the route of putting it on your tonneau. Okay, so here's the door, and there's like a little air gap somewhere over here. There it is. Right here. Here's my little finger. That's what I'm going to aim for. This kind of pushes a little bit out of the way. So if I can get my wire in through there, that is probably my attack angle, is up in that. And I can definitely get the wiring to go in there. Alrighty. This was so much better than the first time. It helped, obviously, that I had some practice. But wiring job, it's fantastic. I taped the little connection up, and then taped it to this rear window since you won't see this at all. That carefully runs and is not pinched by this quick release. I'm going on top of it now, and then that wires out here, and then I've spooled it up cleanly, neatly, and just gently tucked it into this trim. Let me get back to what I'm gonna do. I think since this is the new cable that I spent a lovely time fishing through the headliner, this was the original Hansshow cable that has always been pinched like that. I think I'm gonna wire this a little bit better since I have to take this new wire out anyways. So we'll come back. I'm gonna do a better wiring job here after all, and finally get this the way I've always wanted it, with nothing showing from the inside of the truck. Okay, after actually not too much time, maybe 15 minutes, I did a rewiring job. I have the old Hansshow wire rerouted underneath the airbag. I don't have to go on the inside of the vehicle and route its way around, so that'll be hidden by this rubber. Perfect. Now I can't see anything in here. I pushed that through, so here's the old Hansshow cable, female. But now I have all this cabling from the new mirror, which has the male counterpart. So now I can attach these together like so. So now these are together, Actually, I'm gonna tape these together while I'm at it. But I routed them inside, so I didn't have to do any wire management over here because there's like no room in the airbag area. I don't want to throw a bundle of cables right in that area. Seems a little unsafe to do so. So I'm just gonna manage all these wires inside the truck here now that they're both meeting in this headliner area. I think I'm gonna grab some zip ties and just tidy these up into a bundle like that. Because look at how much wire that is. So I'm gonna grab us some zip ties, bundle these up. There's plenty of room in this headliner to just throw those up there. Shouldn't cause any problem. And then I just need to hook up the new camera to the existing old Hansshow wire. It's the same wire, it's just longer. Should work out great. Mounting this thing underneath the tailgate might take a little bit of thought though. I do have the option of some VHB tape up here, but I might find a way to screw this on. We'll see that in just a moment. So I'm gonna get this wiring job done and then we'll move to the back. Alrighty, wiring job's complete. Again, no exposed wires over here. Everything's tucked up in the headliner. Nothing visible except for the wires connecting to the mirror itself. I have hooked the new camera up to the old cable. Again, shouldn't make a difference unless that cable is higher quality or something, but should be 4K. I checked in the settings and it is set to 4K. It was on 2.7K. So I'll have to pull some footage directly off the card later and get you guys, what the actual camera is recording is more important than what you see here as far as for like pulling footage off this thing if you got in an accident. But as far as visibility, it looks fantastic. Right now it's just sitting on top of my little step of my tailgate. So I need to go back there and I need to put this camera where the old camera was. So I've got my tailgate down to try and get some shade here because this thing was way too hot to even touch all this stuff. I got a little towel here to protect my knees. Yeah, this hot sun is killing me. Before I had screwed the old Hansshow one into the plastic of this thing, which is cheap and I don't really care about it. You can't see underneath here anyways. So I need to figure out a way for this to mount like that, but the adhesive, it's meant to mount the other way around. So I'm gonna play around with this hinge, play around with the old one, see if there's any way I can screw this thing directly onto the plastic. So for the new camera, I just got this little part with the adhesive and I flipped it upside down. I unscrewed these two and turned it upside down. So now it can mount that way. When we stick it onto that, it's going to be perfectly where we want it. What I'm not sure if I want to do is put the enclosure around that. I can try that in a sec. I'm gonna have to drill a bigger hole to push this cable through because it's a little bit bigger than the old Hansshow one, but that's okay. But I think this is gonna work because with the adhesive, plus I'm gonna screw it into the plastic itself. I think that'll be great. What I need to decide on is how far do I want this? Do I want it all the way back here? Do I want it all the way up there? What I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna plug it in and then see, like if I have it here, can I see this plastic? Because I feel like this has a bigger field of view than the old model. So I'm gonna kind of just gently place it here, plug it in, and then go inside and see what that looks like. All right, that is expectedly upside down, but I cannot see any of the black plastic. So that's great. In fact, let's see. Well, that's the opposite way. There it is. So yeah, I can't see any of the black plastic. Wherever it's positioned right now is great. Perfect. So I just need to mount it. As far as using this thing, I don't think I need it. Because this is going to be upside down. And there's no way for water to get out of here, which will get inside of this area down here. So I don't think I'm going to use this piece after all. And again, you can't really see this once it's mounted underneath here anyways. And it'd be more noticeable, if anything, with this weird thing sitting off over the bottom of it. But all right, let me get this fixed to this tailgate piece. Alrighty, I have mounted it nicely to the underside. I just used the screws from the old Hansshow one, screwed directly into the plastic there. Again, I don't really care about this little piece plastic. So made the hole a little bit bigger, pulled that through. Now we can connect these. In the event that this thing came undone or something, the zip tie would at least hold this from falling into the road. So yeah, let me go grab another zip tie. All right, I decided, you know what, while I'm here, I might as well get some electrical tape and get all these guys totally secured. Nothing's gonna come unplugged or get any moisture in the connecting areas. Perfect. Hook that baby in there. And how did I do this? About there. Nice and tight. And then I can route this underneath there. Cool, and it practically holds itself up, so excellent. And then underneath here is just, you just need to get a flathead screwdriver and twist those little areas to secure the plastic back on. So let me get a screwdriver. After these are twisted, locks that into place. It's not going anywhere. That looks great. Camera's pointing just where I need it to go. It's pointing more up than down at the road, which is absolutely perfect. Better than the first generation. I think we're done. Finally. All right, let's go do some cleanup and see how it looks. Alrighty, install complete. Worked out beautifully. It looks like that's the lowest I can go with the orientation I gave it. I could look like all the way up at the sky if I needed to. But yeah, I don't think I would need to look any lower than that. Fantastic. So, comparing that to the actual rear view, that's what I get. But this is why you'd want to install a rear camera, is if I lower this tailgate, there goes the camera pointing at the ground. I can still see behind me though with this. Can't even, oh, we can barely see there's the top of the tailgate, or the side rather, but cool. I can still see behind me, and I feel much better about judging, how close I am. I could even see my tailgate. Is it going to touch a wall or something if I'm backing up? If I scroll up, if you do swipe, which way do I go? That way. It seems you get a little bit wider field of view. Oh, that's the front camera. I haven't taken off the... There's a little plastic back here. So if I peel that off, it shouldn't be blue anymore. There we go. There's a front-facing camera. Again, not sure why I'd want one, but if you adjust that a bit, don't really need to see my dashboard. But if something comes flying at us from the sky, or a rock or a deer or something, it looks like it's got a decent range of motion. That's as far left as it can go, but it can definitely go more far to the right. So I'm going to say, yeah, as far left and as far up as the camera goes. That's probably the best angle for that one. Let me swipe back to the rear. So yeah, I can see the fire lane and this car over there. If I swipe over, yeah, I get another part of the fire lane and a little bit more than that car. So you get a wider field of view if you're seeing both at once, just because of the resolution and dimensions of this camera. Here's the front facing. I can see the shroud here reflecting. Cool. So I'd say mission successful. So far so good. I haven't seen a single bit of distortion on this. Whereas the old camera, I was already seeing like wobbly looking effects, So I'm hopeful that this is way better than that version 2, and this version 2.5 that they're actually selling is in fact way better. But I'm gonna hold my breath. I'm gonna sit on this one for at least a few days, drive around, get some daytime footage, some nighttime footage. Are license plates readable when you save it to your SD card? How does this work? Can it record while you're parked and the car is off? Because this does have a battery in it. I noticed as soon as I pulled it out of the box, this mirror did turn on. I was like, whoa, it has a lithium battery. I'm not sure how big it is, but it can record, I'd assume, for a little while, even if it's not plugged in, or if it's not connected to the car's power source necessarily. I still need to set the clock, but yeah, very excited. Much bigger mirror than the first generation, and so far so good. So to be continued. I will follow up with you once we're ready to finish this review, and I'll let you know how it's been over the last few days.